In a Rotterdam suburb, a group of practitioners spend their time analysing online hate.
Can it seem if it's like an apocalypse?
An apocalyptic worldview, that's classic, right?
Dare to be Grey are a Dutch NGO who dedicate themselves to challenging polarisation in all its forms.
We look for signs of radicalization, signs of polarization, signs of disinformation and hate speech, especially online, raise awareness about those issues and create campaigns to persuade people to think differently. And our aim is to get people to think beyond black and white thinking, to embrace those gray zones in society. I think the world needs a bit more grayness, a bit more nuance, a bit more doubt even.
Dare to be Grey produce highly targeted campaigns tailored for specific online audiences on multiple platforms.
So we used big data, AI, machine learning to understand the online landscape. What conversations are people having? What kind of thinking is going on or going around when it comes to these topics? And then where can we put our interventions?
They recently launched Unravel the Conspiracy Behind Conspiracies, a campaign aimed at teens.
I think what worked in the Unravel the Conspiracy Behind the Conspiracies is the language we use was really like user-friendly.
It's really targeted towards youth, a bit of an online exploration into the topic of conspiracy theories, where they can engage with the topic in a light-hearted manner, easy to understand language, a bit of gamification in there so they can play around with the topic. And again, it's all social media friendly, so it looks fun, it looks interesting, it feels great, and it's punchy. So it's not long reads where you get boring about the topic and you get a million scientific articles quoted. No, it's easy to understand language that should resonate with the audience.
The Dare to be Grey team travelled to Antwerp for a meeting with members of TextGain, an organisation who specialise in using AI in PCVE. Both organisations are working together to set up the European Observatory of Online Hate, a project that uses AI to analyse online hate speech, hate crime and death threats.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, how are you fine-tuning or defining the toxicity within the dashboard? Like, which kind of, you mentioned death threats before, so I guess that is one of the
categories. Yeah, exactly. So what this project tries to do is bring all the relevant messages, or potentially relevant messages, meaning potentially illegal content, death threats or hate speech, together in a sort of tool so that civil society workers and LEAs, law enforcement agencies, can see data that is potentially harmful and they get a visual analysis of that data. So here you see we're adding a polarity, a toxicity to all of the data in order to set up the analyses for the newsroom.
Dare to be Grey and TextGain are planning to launch a virtual newsroom where they can send out news of current trends in harmful content almost as it happens.
But I think we will focusing first on this more threat to life kind of content.
Now we try to align more and more this data scientist knowledge that we have about data and how we collect it with the news stories.
Because they can provide the data, but they're not always in touch with breaking news or events that we see happening throughout Europe. And that's where we come in as Dare to be Grey.
The goal is to disseminate their findings to agencies and organisations across Europe, allowing incredibly fast responses to ongoing developments.
Practitioners will know what's going on, stay on top of trends and topics, and will be informed before it gets worse.
Jordi has travelled to Venlo, a city close to the German border. The local municipality have asked Dare to be Grey to build a campaign there.
Venlo is struggling with reaching youth. There are some issues there. Polarization, people starting to look for answers in more extremist corners, and they're worried about it.
Jordi meets up with Community Safety Officer Ivy Verwoetand to find out more.
Polarisatie, wat voor dingen merk je?
De pandemie eigenlijk, dat heeft natuurlijk ook hier zijn naslag gehad. Ook hier zijn de rellen natuurlijk geweest, de avondknokrellen. Hier hebben ook, dat is al wel een tijdje terug, gevallen van jihadisme, of in ieder geval aanhangers, waar we echt wel bewust ook met politie en samenwerkingspartners hebben gekeken. Van oké, hoe kunnen we dit probleem inderdaad niet zo groot laten worden.
At the municipality offices, Ivy introduces Jordi to local youth workers Mohammed Karim and Johnny Dreesen, who tell him about the issues young people in the area are facing.
En kom je daar ook veel radicalisering in tegen?
Af en toe individuele jongeren die zich wel bezighouden met de gedachtenissen daarvan.
So it always starts with proper research. And then we look for credible voices on the ground. I'm often not a credible person to deliver that message. So we really look for role models or people with influence over the target audience.
Ik heb de site bekeken, Dare to be Great. Dus ik vind de insteek mooi, maar ik ben wel heel erg benieuwd, wat zou dat rolmodel zijn en...
We are in a good position to pick the role models we want to introduce to the youth in Venlo in general. So Mohammed and Johnny definitely are going to be part of the campaign.
Dare to be Grey work with local leaders like Mohammed and Johnny, so that young people will engage with campaigns. For Jordi, local personalised experiences are always more effective.
I'm fascinated by those stories, and I want to give those stories a bigger stage, especially when they're positive and when they're constructive.